Right, guys, good. So, worked with Christian for a few years now, probably.
Yeah, probably 4 years or so.
4 years, well, crikey, okay.
It must have been around COVID time, wasn't it?
It was like, yeah, bloody hell. So worked with Christian for 4 years, for a long time, and really have enjoyed seeing just how the power of really going deep on one social network has been massively helpful and have had super growth. And Christian's probably the most innovative person that I've worked with, or in terms of I've seen, in terms of how he approaches LinkedIn and actually the type of tools and the type of content that he puts out. And so I'm really excited about him sharing this. And this is going to be something that I'm going to be putting my notepad as well for, so I always seem to pick up things from him. So without further ado, Christian Harris, everyone. Yes!
Well, it's always good to get applause before you speak. Hopefully they might get some at the end. Exactly, now you've got to earn it. So, very happy to take questions as I go through this. As Richard says, I've really doubled down on LinkedIn. So, whilst I have, an Instagram and a Twitter and a Facebook, those are all just kind of reposting stuff from LinkedIn, and they're all signposting really to LinkedIn. So that's where I'm very much active, and that's where I try and filter everyone through. And it's fair to say that the majority of business that we get, I can pretty much trace in some way, shape or form back to LinkedIn. So if you don't know what I do, by the way, I'm in health and safety, so apologies. But we work in the field which is the biggest cause of accidents, injuries and claims, which is people slipping and tripping. So it's nearly £2 billion a year of claims in the UK. And we've got some scientific solutions. We work business to business with both the end users, but also insurers, lawyers, architects, facilities companies, and everyone in between to mitigate that risk. So that's kind of the context. And it's important to know that because obviously it's not the sexiest business, to say the least. But as you'll hopefully see, what I've tried to do is introduce a bit of fun into this, and that seems to be working quite well. So I thought I'd just talk firstly about the why. So obviously we're all here because we want to grow our businesses. So fundamentally, we want to get sales in the bank, right? We want to get invoices raised and money coming in. So there's a difference between that and that hyper focus on getting the sale and what I'm talking about today, which is building an audience and getting attention. So I thought I'd just set the scene by talking about why I think it's important to be thinking about building an audience. So the classic question, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? What do we think about that? No? Who says yes? Hands up for yes. Hands up for no. It always provokes interesting debate. But the reason that we should be thinking about that question is you can only ever sell to a proportion of the people that know who you are. So if nobody knows who you are, they're never going to buy from you. So therefore, I believe it's important to grow an audience and to get visibility because in a targeted way, we'll talk about that in a minute, but if only 10 people know who you are, then you better be a bloody good salesman or salesperson. If 10 million people know who you are, you don't need a very high close percentage to do quite well. I'm sure we can send these slides around, can't we, as well? Yeah. So to me, attention is the most valuable currency out there nowadays. So getting eyeballs onto what it is that we do is very difficult because we're getting bombarded all the time by different messages. So if we can get somebody's attention, that is really, really valuable. So that's kind of what I'm going to speak about. So what's it worth to get attention? What's it worth to get a view or an impression or whatever? It's not worth anything on the one hand, because that's a vanity metric. So I can share with you, and I will, some data on LinkedIn impressions. That doesn't necessarily mean anything if it's the wrong people and they're not doing anything off the back of it. So we don't want to get trapped thinking about it's all about impressions and views, okay? But if we can get somebody seeing one of our posts on LinkedIn or any other profile, what is that worth? Well, actually, we're getting visibility. We're getting to be known, liked, and trusted. If we're putting out organic content, hopefully we're going to be seen again and again and again. We're starting to build that relationship. What about if we get somebody to engage with one of our posts or to visit our profile? Well, in my world, that is a good excuse to reach out to them and start a conversation. So the viewing of our profile is worth a lot more than the viewing of one of our posts, and that should be a prompt for us to do something. Now, when we think about getting visibility, and by the way, I've got 2 cats, so I'm a cat lover. There's the right way and the wrong way. So the wrong way is, posting pictures of cats, posting pictures of dogs, doing selfies for no purpose, shining the spotlight on yourself. For those of us in this room, that isn't going to bring you business, in my opinion. If your business model is to be an influencer, then that's fine. But we're not here to do that. We're here to try and build our personal brands to sell whatever it is that we do. So this is kind of the wrong way. So what's the right way? I'd say it's about following a strategy, shining the spotlight on something. So you're not shining the spotlight on yourself and standing in the spotlight. You are the spotlight, shining the spotlight on interesting, important trends, problems, challenges, etc. And always thinking about know, like, and trust. So I always think about content in 3 sections. We need content which is about being known. So that's what I'm mostly talking about today. So how do I get the attention of the right sorts of people? Then there's content about like, and I would frame that as not so much that they like you, but that they think you like them. So giving value. People don't have to like you to buy from you. If they respect you and they feel like you can help solve their problem, then that's enough. Obviously, if you can be liked as well, then that's a bonus. But it's more about them feeling that you like them than them feeling that they like you, if that makes sense. And then obviously building trust, case studies, testimonials, client successes, and all sorts of things like that. So a few things I was going to speak about in terms of drilling down, and I'll give you some examples then. So if we're thinking about LinkedIn, it's really important to understand the algorithm of LinkedIn. And it's the same for all these social media platforms, but I don't really know exactly how they work on Instagram or Facebook, other than the rough principle will be about the same. What's LinkedIn's business model? Yeah, keep people on LinkedIn. So if we can understand what LinkedIn is trying to do, then we need to align the way that we're approaching LinkedIn so that it fits in with what LinkedIn wants. So that's why if you post links to YouTube or links to your website, it doesn't tend to do very well because you're taking people away from LinkedIn. Whereas if you put stuff on LinkedIn that enables people to stay on LinkedIn and kind of have a dwell time on LinkedIn, that tends to do a bit better. So when you're doing a post on LinkedIn, my experience is that the first 2 hours is really, really critical. The more engagement you get in that first 2 hours, the better your post is going to do. Sort of 2 years ago, your post's lifespan was about 24 hours, whereas now you can find that posts continue to grow and grow and grow for a few days. But what I've absolutely seen is that first 2 hours is really critical. So if you post and it's crickets and there's no likes or engagement or anything, you're going to find that post is not going to do very well. Whereas if you can create posts that are engaging and that get likes and comments in that first couple of hours, you tend to find that those posts do well. As I understand it, there's a 2-step process within LinkedIn. There's kind of an automated process, which is this first 2 hours, where your post gets shown to a certain proportion of people in that first 2 hours. And then if it exceeds a certain benchmark of engagement, it then gets shown to more people automatically. And then later on, There's a more manual process where the post will get reviewed by somebody or some people in LinkedIn, and then it might get pushed out to even more people. So some of the posts I'm going to share with you today, they've obviously gone well past that threshold because they've kind of gone out to quite a big audience. But you want to try and just trigger that first initial springboard, shall we say. Shares are worth more than comments, which are worth more than likes, but meaningful comments are really important. So you want to have posts that are designed to incite engagement. So I'd call it a call to engagement, as well as maybe a call to action. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then I don't know if anyone's familiar with Lempod or engagement pods. Does anybody know what engagement pods are? Yeah. So those really do make a big difference. I've been using that tactic for years. I've never had any problems with it. I know people are sometimes a bit anti it for whatever reason. I look at it as like advertising or paying for adverts. So if you so you do a post, it's the same on all these platforms. You do a post. Again, if you don't get any engagement, then the post doesn't go anywhere and doesn't get seen by many people. What you can do is you can create either manually through, say, a WhatsApp group, or you can automate it, and I'll explain how that works in a minute. Engagement. So then you're guaranteed to get a certain number of likes and comments, and therefore you go over that initial hurdle, shall we say, and then your post goes out from there. Yeah. It's good question. So it seems to be something like 10 to 15 comments and likes in the first 2 hours. Seems to be what springboards it.
Does it matter who the audience that comments on it is?
Not necessarily, other than I think you get
into more of the same sort
yeah. So you'll get the boost just by the numbers, but obviously the people that are engaging with the post, the algorithm will think that type of person is more interested in that content.
If you've got, because obviously with the engagement pods that we've got with MTS and
Yeah.
with Deep Breakfast, obviously there's quite a wide
Yeah.
variety of people. So does that just ramble its brain?
So in my experience, and we can go into some of the data, I tend to get something like 15 to 20% of my impressions are from exactly the right type of people, based on the data you can see from LinkedIn. So the question in my mind is, let's say I get a post which has 1,000 views, and I get 20%, that's 200 people. Whereas if I use this method of getting further engagement and I can suddenly get 10,000 views, I'm getting 8,000 views that might not be the right people, but instead of 200, I'm getting 2,000, which I know are the right people. And obviously, if you're doing the content in the right way, it's only going to call out and speak to the right people, really. Point one. Point two is I'm going to speak in a minute about working in groups. And if you post content in groups, if you can find the right type of groups, so for me, I'm in health and safety, insurance, facilities management groups. If you post in the groups, the content is only seen by the members of the groups. So then you know it's going to the right people. Does that make sense? Oh. Yeah, that's fine. So on LinkedIn, what you find is you'll see these trends where, so 18 months ago, everything was polls. About a year ago, everything was carousels, the sort of image, multiple images. So it does tend to go in trends. What I'm finding at the minute is video is massively outperforming everything else. Carousels still work well, polls still work quite well. There are different benefits to polls because polls, you can identify leads from polls if you do them carefully. LinkedIn Lives work really well, and then image and text. But yeah, remember the dwell time. So the great thing about video is, if you can get a video that is captivating in that first 3 seconds, they're probably going to sit and watch it as long as it's not too long. So you're getting the dwell time, which is what the algorithm wants.
Can I just ask with the LinkedIn Lives?
Yeah.
Because you have to go through like a streaming,
Yeah.
StreamYard or something. Is there a way of getting the recording if you haven't got the free version of the you haven't got the paid version of StreamYard?
Well, you can download any video. Any video on LinkedIn you can download. This is one of my strategies. So if you Google LinkedIn video downloader, there's a website called Taplio. So if you Google Taplio LinkedIn video downloader, Taplio, Taplio. So one of the things I do is when I'm on the feed on LinkedIn, I'm looking for videos that I think I can use myself, and then I'll download it directly from there. Yeah, other people's videos. Yeah. Taplio, Taplio.
So like instead of sometimes I see really well on a post and I repost the original.
Yeah.
And it gets loads of impressions.
Yeah.
So what you do is find the post, download the video, and then repost that video.
Correct. Natively posting it gets better impact than resharing. Typically not, because I'll show you the sorts of videos that I'm downloading and using in a minute, so I don't. It's not that I'm not. It's not like I'm finding one of Richard's videos and using that, because that wouldn't be relevant for me anyway, and it'd be shit anyway. Let's be honest. So finding someone else is doing. It's not. So I do talking to camera videos of my own, but I don't use other people's talking to camera videos. But I use like videos with a bit of humour or health and safety scenarios where things have gone wrong, those kinds of things, which I curate, and then I use those to get engagement, but make a message and have a call to action. I'll give you some examples. I don't add captions, no. No, I normally just post them, but I'll then use some text to give my thoughts. So the engagement squad, engagement pod works well, but obviously if you're doing that on WhatsApp or whatever, it's quite a manual process. I use a bit of software called Lempod, which automates the whole thing. So you still get the benefit of boosting past the algorithm, but it's much less labor intensive.
Lempod's a freemium, so you can try Lempod for free.
Yeah.
For like I think 3 posts.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's worth trying. Haven't played it. There's another one that was forget the name.
Soundstack. Is it Soundstack?
Don't know.
That's
What Lempod enables you to do, basically, so you write your post and you post on LinkedIn, and then you put your post into Lempod, and then you can actually write the comments that will appear on your post. So they're real accounts. So there are people that pay Lempod, like I do. So if you joined a group on Lempod that I'm in, I would be commenting on your post from my account, but you would be writing the words that came from me. But it's automated, yeah. So there is a level of trust you have to get over, and you have to, and there's a mindset shift you have to take that you're potentially. Yeah. So is that. Yeah. Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
So the idea is that you simulate what humans would do. So when we do a pod currently manually, it's just basically doing that automatically. So
Yeah.
just making it like automated comments.
Yeah. So that's the first point I wanted to make, is about understanding the algorithm.
And sorry, just engagement squad. Basically, that's what you guys are already part of.
Yeah.
Within LinkedIn Breakfast. That's what we do on Mondays, right?
Yeah. No, you need to do it. You need to do it after the post has gone up. So as I'll tell you in a minute, I don't do any of this myself anymore. I've got a VA that does just aspects of all of this stuff. So yeah, if you go on my LinkedIn, I'm not doing any of it anymore. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, no, but that's what I'm just thinking, like,
It's robots talking to each other.
how many real people? Well, I
And
think robots
VAs.
or VAs talking to each other, yeah.
Yeah.
But a small percentage of posting and a big percentage of lurking.
But that's where, yeah. So I totally get that perspective. My perspective on that is everything that I'm doing or is being done for me on LinkedIn is to drive somebody to have either a conversation with me or come to a webinar or do something where actually they are experiencing me. But I'm just leveraging my time and focus so that.
Someone else's VA that's seeing your
Yeah.
stuff, it's not actually.
Yeah, but I don't really care about that because all I care about is how many people are coming to my webinars and how many people are booking into the sales calls and all of that stuff, all of which is working well. So I know what you mean, but I'm sort of there's a mental.
It's just I just wondered whether
Yeah.
it's kind of all going to become redundant at some point.
Yeah.
Because none of us are actually talking.
Well,
He's not saying that, what he's saying is that those two VAs, or however many VAs are in that pod, are all doing that gets linked
Oh,
in
yeah,
to us,
to
and then
others.
it sends it out to the room.
yeah, to the real
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
yeah.
I think Eleanor's saying it's a nice network of people with
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So
no,
it's a community point of view.
Yeah, I was meaning that, like, are we ultimately heading to a point where
Yes.
there's going to be no real people working there?
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
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 But that's not our problem to solve.
Yeah.
That's what we're heading to.
Well, yeah.
We may or may not be, but in the meantime, there's still enough real people lurking around to make this whole thing.
Yeah.
We're going to go back and live in trees.
Living in sin. Living in sin.
Yep.
The thing that I'm finding, and I'm sure others are with the pod, is great because it gets really good visibility, up
Yeah.
etc. The problem is, I know LinkedIn will give you more for people seeing it, so that I'm finding, I don't know if anybody else with the pod, is because most of us are coaches, I'm finding the people that I want to see are not seeing my posts.
Right.
It's more coaches,
Yeah.
it shows more and more coaches.
Yeah.
Is there any way you can get around that?
I would look at this next then maybe. So again, if you look on the data that LinkedIn gives you, you can sort of see by job title who's seeing your posts. So for me, and I can only speak to me, I'm getting a very good percentage of the people viewing my posts are the right people. It's not 100% of them, but again, it's the difference between 200 or 2,000. Well, I'd rather have 2,000 of the right people, even though I've got lots of other people that are not the right people, if that makes sense. But
Is that partly because your pod is including the right people?
so I've got some different, yeah. So I've got my main business, and then I also do a bit of coaching for safety and facilities businesses on growth and things. So I've got some of them that are doing this. Yeah. So it is, yeah, but also working on this group strategy. Posting in LinkedIn groups, again, this is something that I would say probably 3 years ago the groups were dead, weren't they?
Yeah.
Whereas now it really works well. And what I'm finding is I get about 30 to 50 new followers a day on LinkedIn. So over the year, that's about 10 or 12,000, I think, if you do the maths. So it's quite a good run rate of new followers, and a lot of these are coming from the group, so they are kind of the right people.
Can I just ask a question about your LinkedIn stats?
Yep.
Do you do that, or do you leave that to your VA?
I monitor the stats, yeah. That's one of the few things that I do, yeah. But like Richard said, he's turned Facebook off. I've still got LinkedIn on my phone, but I've turned off the notifications. So I am logging in and looking at it, but I'm not being. Until about 3 months ago, I was still like a slave to my notifications, which I'm not anymore, which is good.
Why do that? I often get people linking to me on posts.
But because I've got someone that's going to deal with that, and I'm not going to do it myself.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So, like we said, building an audience of people that can't buy from you is not very valuable, and that's where this group thing can be very, very interesting, because within the groups on LinkedIn in particular, you're ticking the demographic box because you can filter the attendee, the members of groups and find the right people. but you're getting that psychographic thing as well. And you've also got the ability to contact these people. So if you're in a group with somebody on LinkedIn, you can send them a message even though you're not connected with them. And that's a key part of this strategy that I'd recommend, is building up your visibility in the groups. Because if they're in the group, you know they're interested in that topic psychographically, and therefore they're the right sorts of people psychographically and demographically, and you can contact them. I don't know, actually. I'm just going to try and log in to my LinkedIn. This is where I have to remember my password.
Who else has tried Lempod? Any other pods?
Please remember my password.
But yeah, you know, you've got support to help you, and we've got ChatGPT now, which wasn't there, so you're literally having to write everything. That was how many comments did you write? It depends on how many you're in the group. I can't remember if there's
Well, you can write
20.
Yeah, you can choose how many comments you personally put out. So when you go into Lempod, you can go and use all the generic comments. So you can do auto comments. So it'll be like, great post, and well done, blah, blah, blah.
That's not really good.
And so that's where people who are just lazy with it do that. Where Christian's really made this thing work is that he won't just put a decent comment on, maybe using AI, but that comment will ask a question of him with it. I'm not spoiling this. Is not
No, go ahead, yeah.
So it will ask a question of the post, obviously, because Christian wrote the post. So remember, this is Christian writing his own comments on his own post that other people are going to share. And so those will be questions. So then once that runs, and he posts, and like all these comments come out, which are scheduled over 5-10 minutes. They do it. Then he will go back onto his post and answer his own questions. I say he, obviously, his VA will be doing it. And so you're having a conversation with yourself, but via. I know how naughty this sounds, right?
It's more about your program.
But it's kind of yeah, exactly. Can I,
It's not even you having a conversation with yourself, it's fake you having a conversation.
It's like Divergence, isn't it? Somewhere there's like a spinning thimble somewhere just to know which layer we're in. But the whole point is it's just that. It's that piece that. So say you could even do something like who's up for creating a mastermind, on a XYZ event. Say yes in the comments, and you just go do a load of yeses, and then obviously you can get people to come in and do it. Look, and like all these tactics, they are here for you to see, to get a feel for other people that are doing them really well, and then you take your own opinion on how you would want to go for it.
So do you know which ones are the fake comments and which ones are the actual comments? If you go back and then
So in Lempod you can actually see who.
Yeah, you can see who's in the group. Yeah.
You can see who's commented.
Yeah.
And so therefore you can do the. You can work the numbers out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll also know that they will all be commented within the first 10 minutes, I think it is.
You can do it every 20 seconds or 40 seconds or minute or 2 minutes or you choose the.
So after like 5 minutes, the comments from Lempods are kind of done. So most other comments after that, which is normally when you hit that second win with the post.
Yeah.
Then you get into it.
Yeah. So I'll just give you some ideas of some of the actual posts that are working well for me. So just to give you a bit of headline first. So since I started really focusing on the group work the engagement and the commenting, which is something else I'm going to talk to you about. Hopefully this will update. Can you see here? So this is the last year with 9.6 million impressions, which is quite a lot of people. If you think of that, if you imagine 9.6 million people in the room, that's quite a lot of people. But you can see, look, so there's the odd little spike of like something going viral, but actually the trend is quite, it's quite nice. And that's kind of off the back of these sorts of strategies. But if you go into your analytics, does everyone know how to do this, by the way? Right, so if you go home, because the analytics is really important. So you can see here on the left-hand side, it says post impressions. Yeah. So you click on that, and then you get to this kind of analytics dashboard here. So you can see your followers, post impressions, profile viewers, and a few other bits and bobs. And then if you click on the post impressions, it will show you, and you can filter it by the last 7 days or the last 14 days, 28 days, or 90 days, 365 days. You found it on mobile? Yeah, so on mobile, you go to, you click your picture, and then it will show you there. Good catch. So if you get into this analytics page, you can actually see, if you choose the last year, and you scroll down, it will show you the posts that have done well. So you see that post there alone had 500,000 impressions, 300,000, 277, and these are all this type of curated video that I mentioned. Well, not stolen, but that's fine. Yeah.
Can I just ask, in line with those figures that you showed us,
Yeah.
have you noticed a spike in your sales?
Yeah. Yeah. But then look, so some of these are like, they're all making a point about safety, right? But the biggest one is actually showing people falling over. So it's a funny video, but it's showing people falling over. But this is a classic. Exactly, but it's funny, right? So it's going to get engagement, so that's why it gets a lot of views. But it's aligned to my business, and I use it to make a serious point, and so that works. That as a strategy works quite well. It is a good video, to be fair.
It's not as well, so you get lots of.
Yeah. And then he falls over at the end. So that's cool, right? But then actually, if you look at about the 5th or 6th.
Can I point out as well that the text that is associated with that is actually work business associated.
Yeah.
It's nothing about the video anymore.
And it's a head, like it's all about the headline as well. Look, should we use humour in safety? Are you confident that your safe systems work is safe as it could be? Why are risk assessments valuable? So the headline, that kind of hook headline, is really important, as well as the imagery. But like this one here, this is my video showing the slip test, and this had like 300,000. Let's find out scientifically how slippery your floors are. Talks about the slip test, and then it shows the slip test. It's not the most thrilling thing, but that's. But I've built up the audience, and I'm getting them to see that as well.
You actually made that video.
Yeah.
Is that one okay?
That one's allowed.
I'm just bitter because I make my own videos and I get like 50 views.
But that.
Christian, this is such a wonderful example of knowing your niche.
Yeah.
But just like you understand these people so brilliantly. But also, there are some people that are super geeky out there about,
Yeah.
the molecular viscosity of floors, and no one's making contact for them.
Yeah.
Except you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nearly 9 million of them.
Yeah. But look, so
You're like the
this
Oprah
is what
Winfrey of
exciting
the-
life I lead. This is the type of photograph that is on my phone. Okay, so I did take this photograph, but you know, loads of comments, loads of engagement, 77,000 impressions of a picture of a yellow floor sign on the floor.
Because you built up so much
Yeah.
credibility from all the other ones.
And you're building the audience in the groups of the right people, and then they're following you, and then they're seeing your main content, and then you.
How do they come to you? How do they come and see you? How do these professions come?
So what's the next step?
Yeah.
I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Yeah. 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 No, exactly. It's building up. It's building up. So them seeing you again and again and again and again and again. And then you mix up your content. So this type of content, the videos, gets really good engagement and views, but then you mix that in with a case study or a call to action, and you have like a content sandwich. But you're using this type of post to kind of build up your audience, and then a percentage of those will end up kind of coming through. Well, I'd say that's an audience because if they're seeing what I'm doing, that's an audience.
They're interested in safety.
Yeah.
That's why engagement creators on a Monday, guys. So we always say start the week well, do your engagement creators on a Monday. That's why we do the engagement creator report on a Monday. So you spike the algorithm, so you're getting engagement, and then the rest of the week, when you start to get into the business end, like promoting your events, you're hopefully playing off the back of that reach.
Yeah.
So that's why.
But what you'll find in the groups is you don't even need to do the lempodding and stuff. The groups, if you get the right type of content in the groups, they just get massive numbers without anything else.
Are you posting natively?
Yeah.
You are, so
Yeah.
you are not copying yours.
No. Every group gets a native post. Yeah.
Is it like duplicate?
Yeah. So I'll post exactly the same thing into 20 groups over. Well, I say my team will post exactly the same post into 20 groups. Bang, 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 bang. Same content, but every group gets it done uniquely, and the same with the polls as well. So the videos are working really well, and then the polls in the groups work really well to build an audience and to find leads. So if you post a poll in the group about like an industry talking point or a pain point or whatever, you always get a lot of votes and engagement. And then if you can put together a careful poll whereby however they answer, you've got an excuse to message them, you can develop leads from the polls quite easily as well. So I post on my feed 2 or 3 times a day, my profile. And then in groups, we probably post 4 to 5 times a week in each group. Yeah, so like on a Monday, we might post the same post into all these groups, and then on a Wednesday, we'll post something else, and then on a Friday, we'll post something else.
But you post 2 to 3 times a day.
On my profile, yeah. We tend to do about 8 a.m., 2 p.m., and then if sometimes, so my VA does, one of my VAs does the 8 a.m. and 2 p.m., and then sometimes if I feel like it, I might do a post in the evening as well. Whenever. I don't have a fixed time for that. Just if like, so in the evening, sometimes there might be something in the news where there's an article on the BBC and it's got some relevance to safety. So that would be one of the few times where I would actually do a post myself. I might post that and then comment on it. I've tried before posting 4, 5, 6 times a day, and that does seem to suppress So yeah, but 2 or 3 times a day seems to be fine from what I can see. Say again? I just steal content from everyone else. No, I've a tool called Meet Edgar, which is like a social posting app. You can schedule posts. So I've created a library of posts. So if I logged in there, I've got probably 30 or 40 engagement creator posts in a library. I've got 30 or 40 insightful posts in a library. I've probably got a list of 30 or 40 videos that can be used. So we have that as we've created a library, so we never run out of content.
So are you scheduling?
I'm scheduling from there into the groups. My VA is into the groups and on Instagram and Twitter and so on, but not for my feed.
So the Meet Edgar is the one that's doing the scheduling.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You can schedule groups.
Yeah. That's quite new. Yeah, you can.
If you've got Go High Level, you can do that within Go High Level. It's a social
Yeah.
section within Go High Level. You can also create the posts in there. You can create the posts in there, and you can also put a comment in there, and it will actually do the initial comment for you because you put it in Go High Level.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you can upload because I've got it in there. We've got an agency one, but I've got a normal thing from it. But you go into, but it's the social bit. It's social. It'll say social, and then you can go into social, and you can upload which social media channels you want to use, and then you can actually create and schedule all of your posts within Go High Level.
Yeah.
And then it will also allow you to put the first comment in, which is normally one of the problems because you can schedule it, it goes out, but then you've got to go and post
Yeah.
the first comment and get it going. But it actually has that facility within it in Go High Level.
I'll show you the break.
Christian, what is called that platform to schedule?
Meet Edgar. Meet Edgar. There are lots of those around, but that's just the one. I think I got a deal on that years ago, and I've just stuck with it. So yeah, we've just got a library of content, and then we're always thinking of. We're doing a podcast every week, so that's more content. I do a webinar every week. That's more content. I do articles for people. That's more content. So we never run. We're commenting on news articles. We're doing polls. We've got long lists of polls of like pain points or talking points or so it's time to build it up. But yeah, we're never short of ideas.
Do you recycle other things?
Yeah.
Your own stuff?
Yep. I try and leave it a couple of months. Even those videos, so a lot of those videos you'll see get reused.
Maybe every 13 weeks.
Yeah. Different text. Go on, you had a question. Did you have a question?
That was the same question.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
How can you put those into a post? Is it on the newsletter? Can you do those in groups?
You can share the newsletter into a group, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. What I tend to do is, so this is something I've just started doing more recently. You may have seen this on LinkedIn, where people are starting to put these little footers at the bottom of their posts. And it seems to work quite well. So I've been experimenting with it. So just having like a thoughts, share yours below. Because what you want is you want people to engage. So you want a call to engagement, and then you want some kind of call to action. So one of the things I've done in the past, or I could have improved on, is not having a strong enough call to action. So I thought, well, let's try and experiment with doing this. So put these 3 points in of share your thoughts, repost it to help your network, and follow me. And then add in one of these sorts of things. So it might be a link to a webinar, or it might be a podcast, or it could be a safety roundtable, newsletter, the LinkedIn newsletter.
Is that in a comment or is that in the actual post?
That's in the end of the post, yeah.
Because it makes the links weird though, doesn't it? It makes the links their own.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Changes.
Yeah, but that's okay.
What about outbound links though?
Well, what I've found is it works better if you're linking to a LinkedIn link. So that's why the newsletter seems to work best, because that's an internal link basically. And then I think I've got about 10,000 subscribers to my LinkedIn newsletter or something like that.
I suppose you could also do it to your LinkedIn event
Yeah, or a LinkedIn. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So everything I do on LinkedIn, I never link on LinkedIn to my Zoom landing page. I always link to the LinkedIn event, and then on the LinkedIn event, it's got the Zoom landing page.
It's just not linking to outside of that platform, just good practice.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So even Instagram, you say link in bio, right? So,
Sorry, go on.
Do you post your weekend?
Yes, so that's one of the few times that I do post because even though I'm a terrible boss, I don't crack the whip and make my VAs work on the weekend. So yeah, you could schedule them, but normally on the weekend I just do a couple of videos, a couple of the fun videos, because the weekend is actually a really good time on LinkedIn because not many people post on the weekend, but people still log in and check. Yeah, and going back to the point about posting multiple times a day, what I've found is a lot of people post first thing in the morning. If you go on LinkedIn in the middle of the afternoon, 2 to 3 o'clock, there isn't much new content coming out. So that's why we try and post around that time, because then we find that it does get viewed by quite a lot of people. That is where you get. So if you ring the bell on someone's profile, you get notified when they post.
It's like a symbol of a bell on the top right hand side.
So you can follow somebody. So I've got quite a few people that I who are like industry people, and whenever they post, I want to see get a notification so that we can immediately go and comment on their post, which is the next thing I was going to talk about. Now, what I can't tell you is, because I've been doing these 3 strategies all at the same time, so I don't know which of these is making the biggest difference. I think it's probably the groups thing, but this commenting thing is really, really important as well. So why would you comment on other people's posts? Just basically, there's a few reasons. Firstly, I've experimented with this. If you are going to post on LinkedIn, if you comment on about 10 to 20 other people's posts around your post gets more views. So you draft your post and then don't click post, open up another tab, go into your feed and do 5 or 10 comments, then make your post, then go back to the feed and do 5 or 10 more comments, and your post will get more views.
Sorry, Christian. Again.
So I'll say that again. So if you what LinkedIn will reward you for being active on LinkedIn. So if you are active on the feed, if you do some comments before you make your post, and then you do a few more comments on other people's posts after you do your post, based on my data, your post gets pushed out to more people. Well, I try never to do just those comments, but yeah, and I can share with you how I do that in a minute.
On that topic, just Monday, I came across a tool
Right.
which is a Chrome extension. When you put it into your Chrome browser, actually end up in somebody else's post. There's a blue black box in the comments box.
Yeah.
You can click on it, it will go off and read the post.
And yeah, so I've got a couple of tools that do that as well. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. Comments seem to make the difference. If you send a DM to somebody, they're more likely to see your post, and if they send a DM to you, they're even more likely to see your post. So having a back and forth DM with a prospect is a good way for them to see more of your content. And if somebody engages with your content, they're more likely to see your content as well. Yeah, I'm more or less done. Yeah. I'll tell you that in a minute. So there's a benefit to wrapping comments around your posts. The other great thing, the other two ways I would use comments is to comment on like an influencer's post. So in my world, that's quite difficult because there aren't many people creating content in safety. But there are some. So if you can put a meaningful, high value comment on somebody's post that's got a big audience, you'll find that people will start following you, engaging you, visiting your profile, etc., etc. So that's a really good strategy to use. So think about who's in your space. They don't necessarily have to be a competitor, but they could be selling something of use to the same audience as you, if that makes sense. And think about whether you could sort of mini stalk them and hijack their audience. And then obviously your prospects. So if any of your prospects are posting, and if you've got Sales Navigator, you can filter by who's posted. Get commenting on their posts because they will then recognize you. That will get, if you're commenting on their posts, you're going to get seen more by them and vice versa. Praise them, ask them questions. Maybe if you're feeling a bit cheeky, give a bit of a contrary view, try and get a conversation going. One of the things that I quite like doing is if someone's posted something and I think they're a good prospect, I'll send them a DM with a link to their post with a longer comment in, and that almost always gets a reply, and then you get a conversation going.
Sorry to be again on Monday. I picked this up. There's a software tool called Crystal Nose.
Yeah. I know it. Yeah.
Style.
Yeah.
Crystal Nose.
Crystal Nose.
Knows. Have you come across it, Crystal?
Yeah.
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 It blew me away, absolutely blew
Yeah,
me
yeah.
away, because the pictures you can paint of people before you
Yeah.
even get near them
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
There's another one of those called My Trusted Nickname, which you can plug into LinkedIn, and it will read their LinkedIn profile and then give you a summary or tell you just
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It literally goes off and
Yeah.
looks at all their articles, all their
Really
posts.
clever.
Yeah, and this profile for a prospect can be hugely valuable.
Yeah.
My Trusted Nickname.
So the commenting, there's three things I use. You can just use ChatGPT and obviously like copy the post in and ask ChatGPT with some prompts. But there are two tools that I've tried, both of which are good. One's called Engage AI and one's called Commenter AI. Engage AI is more embedded in LinkedIn, and it has a database. You can track specific people and it'll upload the database when they post, so you can then comment on their posts. Commenter AI doesn't have that functionality, but it comes up with much better comments. So it might be, and they're both like, they're not hugely expensive, and there are freemium versions. They're freemium as well, but they're both good. And then the last point I wanted to make is outsourcing the work. So I've got 3 VAs that are working with me full time on LinkedIn. Not 100% on LinkedIn, but more or less. So I've got Karen. So she does all of the posts. She definitely. She
would pick you up on that as well.
Yeah, she would. She would. She does all of the posts, all of the engagement, commenting, like we've said, the collaborative articles. The Top Voice articles. She does all of that. Solomon is doing all the DMing. He's also creating posts. So his strategy around posts is he does polls into those groups, asking very specific pain-related questions, and then he follows them up with DMs to then book in appointments. So that's a good strategy that works. And then I've got Janvik, who he does most of the graphics. He sets up all of the webinars. He does all the invites to the webinars. He also does, he edits my podcast and a few other things as well. And he's also looking out for lead magnet sort of partnerships. So, I've got a webinar for a safety audience. Can I find someone else that's got a webinar for a safety audience? Could we partner up whereby I promote their webinar to my audience and they promote my webinar to their audience, and we kind of cross pollinate. And then we're just about to, hopefully soon, once my website's done, bring on another VA just to do like longer form content like blogs and SEO articles and all that sort of stuff.
I thought you had so many that you forgot before first.
No, we just haven't. Flora's looking for that person now.
I love that you have a team. Can you comment on the personality profile?
Yep.
That you need
So-
to have it. If I wanted a Karen, a Karen or Solomon.
So Solomon, I interviewed a few people, and he had the most personality. Yeah, he had the most about him. Janvik's in the Philippines, by the way, and the other two are in Nigeria. Solomon had the most about him, and because he's basically he's having to pretend to be me because he's doing DMs. I needed him to have like, he couldn't be. I'm not saying that I'm not boring, but he couldn't be like stiff or, you know what I mean? Because he had to try and, he had to have something about him to try and to fill that role. Karen is more diligent because it's actually about much more process driven. Solomon's not process driven. It's more about that. And Janvik's quite a good all rounder. I've had Janvik for a few years.
Can I ask the cost?
Yeah, so Janvik, I'm paying about $550 a month. And then Solomon and Karen are about $400 or $450 a month each.
Do they only do LinkedIn or do they do other stuff?
No, they just do LinkedIn.
Really?
How many hours is that?
Full time. So I'm getting 15 hours a day of LinkedIn from these two, 15 hours every day of LinkedIn from these two, 5 days a week. And then he's doing a few hours. So I'm probably getting 20 hours a day of LinkedIn.
Like, what's your sales like on that? What's the return on investment for you that you've seen?
So we're now just shy of £1 million run rate sales. When I started working with Richard in 2020 is a bit weird because obviously that was a strange year. But the year before that, 2019, our sales were about 350.
These people log in as you
Yeah.
in LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and you don't have any problem with that. They're all protected with.
So I've set them up with a VPN. So they're all on NordVPN. Everyone's using the same IP address, logged in through NordVPN to protect the account.
Yeah. All right. Oh, that's good because I was quite protective of mine, having 22,000 followers and
Yeah.
investor connections. I can't let anything happen to that LinkedIn account.
Yeah, set up a
You're
VPN.
Much more interested.
Set up a VPN. Yeah, VPN.
So
Because then, as far as LinkedIn are concerned, you're just logged in the same place all the time.
and NordVPN is good enough to do that.
Yeah, seems to be. Yeah.
And you're both on at the same time?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
No.
So you're doing different stuff? You've all got VPNs if you're exec, so we pay for your VPN so they go to the UK base. But the interesting thing, you build out a team like this, then even Christians should be using the same VPN because in theory they all have to pretend to be here. But the difference is that he uses his phone. I'm speaking for you now, but
Yeah.
this is how I do. I use my phone if I'm going on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But then trying to go through the same VPN if I'm going to go through my computer as Flora Vega and my team.
So can we have access to the same VPN that our VAs use?
No, because we buy a block of VPNs, and so they're all going into UK-based, London-based servers, and so they're all kind of going into the VPNs there. So if you wanted to do it, you wouldn't need to do it if it's just you and one exec.
Yeah.
Like you just don't need, because you're both in the UK, so
Yeah,
that's fine.
that's
Because I
fine.
have a VPN myself, and Nicole has a VPN, so I'm now
You might as well just get a whip in through yours, because
Yeah.
if you're buying a VPN like a ExpressVPN, you'll probably have like 5 or 6 different machines that you can have.
And it's not expensive.
Is it not better to be able to do that and then we're going to be in the same?
100%.
Oh, okay, I'll give her mine then.
Is there an issue if you use the free VPN?
Don't know.
Not sure.
Not sure.
I don't know. We use ExpressVPN. It's like £10 a month.
Yeah, it's not expensive. Yeah.
It's not massive.
I'm just very open and honest now. I only work part-time, and so I only have, I can only spend a maximum of an hour a day on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
If that was you,
An hour a day.
what would you focus on?
I would. So I would spend 10 minutes engaging with prospects and commenting on posts and finding some influencers to comment on. Then I'd spend 5 minutes doing a post. Then I'd probably spend half an hour doing DMs and trying to build conversations with people. And then I'd probably spend another 5 or 10 minutes posting into groups to try and get engagement and followers, something like that.
Great question.
That's a good question,
If you're VA, then the question is, now you've got a VA, what should you be doing? So if we now apply that same
Yeah.
question to now you have a VA working for you half a day,
Yeah.
what would you do that hour?
So I would pile into the groups and create the content in the groups for sure, because you're going to get a lot of visibility if you can find groups that fit in with your customer profile. And I don't know what you do, so I don't know if you can. I would definitely do that. DMing, fundamentally what we want, as I said at the start, is we want to get people into conversations. So we either want people joining a weekly moment webinar, in which case DMing to invite them, sending them invites and get them along to that. By the way, when someone signs up for a LinkedIn event, you should then be sending them reminder messages to say, remember to register, please share the event. It's starting in 20 minutes. We need to be pounding people to get them to do what we want them to do. But
that on LinkedIn?
yeah.
Normally told to do that via email.
Both. I do both, yeah. Because it.
Yeah, if someone says they want to go to the event, I'll say, great, we've got one on Wednesday, do you want to come? They'll say, great, yes. And you say, well, I'll register you. You can just go straight onto the Zoom. You can share the link with them and say, would you prefer me to register you? And say, yes. And their name, email address, and just chuck it in and do the Zoom registration.
So what I do, I do my webinars, and then I've got my sales manager, when they're on Zoom and they register for Zoom and or turn up, they get a phone call. But the people that register on the LinkedIn event but don't come to Zoom, we don't have their number, so then we're following them up on LinkedIn. So following up anybody that exhibits any kind of interest in the DMs would definitely be high on my list of things to do.
We want to take like maybe 2, 3 more questions, and then we're going to break, and then we're actually going to go into open format after the break, where we'll be able to discuss the things that are all on our minds and shapes of strategy. Okay, so just to give you a flavour, that's what's going to happen. So let's take the last 2 or 3 questions.
That's about being banned from LinkedIn. Bearing in mind, are you DMing directly lots of people on a regular basis or with the same message?
No.
Come to this.
I have been banned from LinkedIn once because nothing to do with any of this stuff though. So, somebody complained about some political view, which they said I had posted, which I didn't. So it was all sorted out after 7 days. I think it may have been a competitor being a dick or something. What I would say, what I'd say around, what I've found is sending out automated sales messages hasn't worked for me and my audience. So I do use some automation to send invitations to webinars. And so I would send out, hundreds of messages saying, do you want to come to this webinar? But I wouldn't send out 100 messages of, do you want to buy this thing? What I found works better for that is much more personalized messages. So I would go onto someone's profile. Solomon would go on someone's profile and I've taught him how to look for like breadcrumbs of interesting things very specific to that person, so that they know that, so that there's no question that it's a fully personalized message, and then reach out to them one-to-one, and then not reach out with a sales pitch, but reach out with a question to get a conversation going, and then to transition that into sales message if it's appropriate at the right time. Yeah.
Just go back to the VPN thing. I mean, I've got a VA and they've got a VPN and it's London. But then I don't want him to go on and make a comment, London, and then 2 minutes later, me in Bournemouth goes, oh yeah, by the way, blah, blah, blah. Surely LinkedIn can see, what a minute. I thought he was in London. Oh no, he's in Bournemouth. How's he teleported to Bournemouth to send that message?
The easy answer is actually you might not be in Bournemouth already, because it's the servers and the IP addresses that you're actually logging into. So where's the data center that you are? Where are you currently logging into? Because the chances are in Bournemouth you may still be logging into London. They have these massive data centers that are around, and that's where your IP address is. And that's a virtual private network. Basically, just say you are logging in via these data centers. There's not masses of them. And so most of us are going to be London-based, or Reading's quite a big tech hub as well, so one in Reading. So it is kind of like, at least it's kind of there.
I should use a VPN as well. So what's that?
No, you don't need to, because you don't need to pretend you're in the UK, because you're in the UK.
I just want to look like I'm in the same position as the same location as where I do that.
You just need then to look like you're in the UK. It just needs to be UK first. Where we've kind of got slightly unstuck, or what you need to be conscious of, is if you go on holiday and do a load of work, which basically try not to do lots of work on holiday, but if you are going for a working holiday away somewhere, just be a little bit aware of that, and then maybe just talk to the exec, or even just say, right, I'm just going to use my phone. I don't know, it might still have a problem.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I
What I
got
do
a lot
when
of
I'm
evidence.
just in Paris, everything comes, whenever I'm anywhere near LinkedIn, we are always, both of us, in Paris.
Yeah.
So if I'm,
Yeah.
if I'm here today, I'm actually in Paris.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, yeah, because you're aware of the problems that you're using VPN, which is good. So just, most of us won't be aware of the issue, and so this is part of becoming aware of the issue. And so just remember that. You are always logging in as London, your exec is always logging in, I say London, UK, you're always logging in, they are London-based, the service we choose. But just be aware of that.
So really, if we had an overseas VA, other than working with
Yeah.
you, then they should be working with
This is
VA.
best practice, whoever you're using. So Christian's Filipino VA will obviously be following this best practice as well. Right?
Yeah.
Wicked, can we give it up for Christian Harris? Here's what we're going to do. We are going to, there's going to be a little bit